here's Brody Brazil.
I recently came across this article, which is currently making the rounds and very much being shared across social media platforms. It's published in USA Today, and the headline there reads, "Sell the team. Fed up fans' passionate cry is spreading through sports." Now, regular viewers of this YouTube channel are probably not going to be surprised by this existence or this coverage at all. We talk about fan displeasure, disappointment, kind of the uprising of fans in recent years a lot here in different scenarios and topics and situations on the channel. The article does point out that baseball is not the only league and sport experiencing this right now. Like, we are seeing some of that in football, a little bit of it in the NBA, some of it with soccer, but it really does point out that Major League Baseball is kind of at the core of this sell the team movement, where fans get upset and frustrated, and they are shocked and can't even believe how their team is being run or organized and the direction it's going or not going. And so they bust out the chant, "Sell the team," maybe sometimes prematurely, maybe other times with a very good and deep reason for it. So going back to the baseball part of this, again, that's the focus that I want to take from this article and its coverage. The realization is this, and I'll quote the article: "A USA Today sports analysis shows that 12 MLB teams, well, not the teams, but their fan bases, have engaged in the chant of 'Sell the team' in varying degrees of organization in the past 3 years, perhaps indicating fans have taken a cue from Oakland's highly publicized unrest to demand more from their ownership groups. The three-word plea can come spontaneously or after significant planning, or sometimes to simply prove a grander point." And again, we talk about varying degrees of organization. These fans and the fan bases, they're also in varying degrees of a situation. Sometimes they're just mad because the team is losing. Other times they're mad because the team is not spending. Other times they're upset because the team is threatening relocation. Or other times the team has announced relocation and continues to play baseball games where they're moving away from. So they're not all identical situations, but the commonality is that sell the team chant. And to the point of 12 out of 30 Major League Baseball teams in the last 3 years, think about the percentage of that. More than a third of baseball teams in the last 3 years have had fan groups come together, be organized, and demand a change of ownership of the team. Now, does that usually work out? Does an owner say, "Okay, you want me to sell the team? I will do that"? Not always. On rare occasion, yes. So sometimes at best, but hardly ever, it is more of a sentiment than an actual demand for action. All of this was not started in Oakland, but to the point of the article, it became a little bit more mainstream in the last couple years. I'll continue reading here. 2 years have passed since the Summer of Sell, when A's fans organized a boycott of the team and marked the top of the fifth inning every game, home and road, to remain silent for one batter before beginning a "Sell the team" chant. And if I recall correctly, the first time they did this was the reverse boycott game against the Rays, top of the fifth inning at the Coliseum on that night in June of 2023. First batter comes up, I think hits a double down the left field line. Standing on second base, eerily silent and quiet inside the Coliseum. Next batter steps to the plate. The chant busts out. The pitcher for the A's, Hogan Harris, has to step off the mound. Can't hear anything. It's so loud. It's so crowded. It's so emotional. And that's when it started and continued for the rest of that summer. It was an emotional 2-year ride during which the A's finalized plans to move to Las Vegas. Fans staged an emotional reverse boycott and finally spent 2024, like the entire year, that entire baseball season, bidding farewell to the Coliseum and Oakland. And so, yeah, that is the highest degree, in my opinion, of sell the team. The intensity of it, the frustration of it, the demand of it. That's why you saw it on shirts. That's why you saw it pretty much everywhere. You saw it in a common theme, like everybody was wearing the same sell shirts. It was very organized, very orchestrated, because it had to be, because the situation was rather dire. But there's a bunch of other teams being mentioned in this article. The Rockies are mentioned, not just the Athletics, the Oakland or Sacramento or Las Vegas Athletics, or Utah or Portland Athletics. The Colorado Rockies were mentioned here. The Chicago White Sox and their fans were mentioned here. The Pittsburgh Pirates were very detailed here in their current situation with the owner Bob Nutting, reluctance to spend, a terrible trade deadline that just happened, Clemente sign on the wall, Bucco bricks outside the stadium. You probably already know the story there. And Paul Skeens being the centerpiece of the National League, really, and he's on the Pirates and sporting a tremendous ERA, terrible win-loss record, but that's the Pirates. But will they re-sign him to a deal, or will they let him float away to the Yankees or Dodgers or Padres or Mets or you name it? The Mariners also mentioned in a quick way they're having a much better season than a lot of the rest of the teams here. But even the Mariners kind of fell victim to an orchestrated sell the team night or movement earlier on this season. Now, they didn't mention all the other teams that get us to 12, so I'm going to put these in the observation category of other potentials. I think we're also talking about Cardinals fans, Rays fans, and yeah, Tampa Bay, they might get what they're asking for. It seems like Stuart Sternberg is pretty deep in the process of selling the Rays to a brand new ownership group. That remains to be seen. I guess we'll know by the end of next month, September, if that actually happens. The Washington Nationals in the last 3 years. The Angels and Artie Moreno in the last 3 years. Minnesota is in the process of trying to sell the team. The poll ads announced that, in fact, about a year ago. Unsuccessful to this point, though, of actually selling the team. The Orioles recently sold. So maybe this includes the 3 years and part of the time period before the Angelos family sold the team. And in Miami, obviously, struggles and frustrations are commonplace. So I think those are the rest of the teams that get us to 12. But again, look at how many teams we just mentioned with fans that are that upset. It's one thing to have a losing season. It's one thing to have a player get traded away that didn't make you happy. But when you're to the point of organizing a sell the team message, is it being overused? Is it overexposed, or are fans really this upset? And why is this just an MLB thing, it feels like? Again, I don't hear this chant around the NHL at all. I know the article mentioned that Knicks fans were upset and Chicago Bears fans have been upset, so existing a little bit here and there, but 12 teams out of 30 in the last 3 years. Some fans are unhappy, again, in other sports, but nothing like the extent and frequency of MLB fans, it seems, right now. And I think, as I mentioned before, there's a difference between the intensity of losing games and players and relocation, but I think the genesis of the problem here is that MLB has such a growing divide between the spending teams, and I'll say it nicely, as the saving teams, like they don't ever spend or commit to anything, that fans with these teams are super upset. You don't hear Yankees teams or Yankees fans requesting to sell the team. You don't hear that from Padre fans or Dodger fans or Mets fans or really Cubs fans. You don't hear that a lot at all. But you do hear it from the teams that all they need to do is just a little bit more. And typically it revolves around decision-making and spending, and they don't do it. So I feel like it's that growing divide of the haves and have-nots, or spenders and savers, whatever you want to call it. That's causing the fans of these teams down here, and correspondingly with the stadium situation and this and that, it's correspondingly making them feel even more righteous about doing this. How about an observation from former Oakland Athletic Ryan NODA, who's currently in the Baltimore Orioles organization? He said, quote, "It's crazy because I enjoyed my time in the Coliseum, going back to the sell the team movement there and what A's fans felt like they had to do to get their message out there, to let the rest of the baseball world know that what was happening here is not okay. It's such a unique place, and it's sad they're not playing there anymore. Talking to current A's players, they're like, I never thought I'd miss the Coliseum so much, but I do. The last 2 games there were pretty awesome." More from Ryan NODA in just a second, but that's his perspective on the move of the A's and the sentiment of A's fans. Here's a different take by current Athletic Brent Rooker, who this past offseason signed a 5 or 6 year deal, an 8-figure contract extension. So let's keep that in mind, that Brent's mindset, Brent's comments here might be heavily influenced by where the paychecks are coming from and the fact that he and his family are set for life all of a sudden, and that he could pick up a bat tomorrow and then decide to be done with it, and he's still pretty well taken care of. And look, that's the nature of being a pro athlete. But what I want to read you here also comes with a different twist. You kind of wish that energy, he said about the sell the team movement, you kind of wish that energy was directed more towards supporting what's happening on the field, because we're giving a lot of effort and work really hard, and a lot goes into going out and competing every night. So you see both sides of it. You respect people's rights to voice their opinions, but there are times we wished that energy was directed more at supporting what we're doing on the field. Rook pointing out that he would have loved to have seen more of that sell the team energy supporting the players on the field rather than its direction towards the franchise and ownership of the franchise. Let me just say this. The exact comparison here is like, and I hate to use this analogy, but this is probably the best one. This is almost like your spouse, your significant other, cheating on you and knowingly they're going to leave you. But they want to hear the compliment that you think that they're still really good looking. You're hot. I know you're leaving me. I know that we're done, but you're really hot. That's kind of like the wrong time, the wrong place. Read the room. Read the situation, Rook. There's no way fans can attach to players anymore when those players are being ripped away. They want to love you. They're fighting over you. They're fighting like they're going to your boss to complain about what they're doing to you. I mean, we're all on the same side here. I get your point. You wanted support as players in the last couple of years of the Coliseum. Fans had bigger fish to fry than whether you hit 30 home runs or not, whether you were on the All-Star team or not. No offense, Rook. This is a 57-year thing, not just you for the last couple of years. This is tradition. This is jobs. This is a lot of different things. Fans didn't really have the time to support the product on the field as much as they would have loved to have done that. That's what they had always wanted to do. That's why they're fighting to keep this product. So they were a little bit busy. Brent, I hope that is understood, and I'll leave it at that. I'll go back to Ryan NODA for one more thought here. I don't know, he said, how much front offices and owners pay attention, to like sell the team chants, and I think that's very fair and that's very straightforward. You want me to sell my team that makes me hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars per month and more than that per year? Nobody's just going to submit to that request and say, yeah, sure, I'll sell the team. Enough of you have asked for it, so I'll give you what you want. I'll exit out of this huge investment. But going back to, is it heard? Yeah. But players, he said, we hear it. And going through it for a whole year was weird. But we knew they weren't saying it to us. Ryan NODA gets it. We knew they still backed us and treated us like we were players. And they knew how hard we worked and how hard we wanted to get a win. At the end of the day, we just kind of blocked it out on our end and waited for them to cheer. That is an understanding comment right there. Let's get to the takeaways. So why is all this happening? Why are fans suddenly so intense about like demanding that teams be sold? And is it a little bit of a contagious thing? Like, oh, we see them doing it, so we'll copy that? Maybe to some degree, but I do believe in 2025, fans invest more than ever with their time, their money, their effort. And so they lack tolerance for teams not trying. If fans didn't put a lot into it, they wouldn't expect a lot out of it. But they do invest, and they want to see some return. I do think that the actions of ownership groups speak louder than words. You can talk about what you're going to do. You can come out with the statement. You can try and simmer the fans down for just a little bit. But if you keep doing the things that frustrate the fans, they're still going to be frustrated. What you say and what you do sometimes are two different things. They should be the same thing. And your actions speak louder than your words. Years and decades, I should say, they compound on fans of losing and decision-making. And it's one thing if you go through a spurt of 3 or 5 years. It happens. And especially if a lot of it seems preventable. But it happens. That's part of following a team for the long haul. But if we're talking 3 decades, like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who've had 4 winning seasons since 1992, not playoffs, they have made the playoffs 3 times, but just 4 total winning seasons since Barry Bonds was a Pirate. That can compound on fans and cause a generational, mental effect on fans. And also, I just want to say that, baseball's at a spot where there are relocation threats by multiple teams. There's 2 teams playing in minor league stadiums this year. This summer, the realization of a lockout following the 26th season, like a lockout to start 2027, is almost guaranteed to some degree at this point. All of this is such a bad trend for Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball. And for somebody who's trying to ride off into the sunset like the commissioner is planning to do by the end of this decade, I mean, that's a huge storm that's in the way of where you're at now and where the sunset inevitably is. These are big problems. This is a big deal. Again, I don't see other sports fans of other teams and sports. I don't see this happening in football, basketball, or hockey. It is a lot more unique than it needs to be right now in Major League Baseball. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. Also, thumbs up while you're down there. Really appreciate that. Helps me, the video, the channel. Don't forget, also hit that subscribe button because that means I get to see you back here next time.